This video deals with issues related to resource allocation. According to Johnson and Scholes, the writers of the main textbook, I suppose, in business and corporate strategy, strategy is the direction and scope of an organization over the long term, which achieves advantage for the organization through its configuration of resources within a challenging environment to meet the needs of markets and to fulfill stakeholder expectations. It's a very detailed definition, and it's very comprehensive in its coverage. However, in the context of the present video, we're simply going to just focus in on the use of resources and the role of resources in terms of strategy. So we have all of the other areas within the definition to be considered in other videos and other classes throughout the course and throughout the module. But we'll just focus in now on resources. So when we think of resources, we can think of financial resources of the business, which we'll come to in a few moments. We'll discuss these in detail in a second. But we can think of the financial resources, the cash that's available, the working capital, and so on. So we have the financial resources of the business. Then we have the intangible resources. Intangible, can't be touched. Things like goodwill, reputation, and so on. The physical resources, the machinery, the office equipment, perhaps the cars, the local area network, the raw material, whatever. All of this, the raw materials, all of this will constitute the physical resources of the business. And of course we have the human resource, which is of critical importance because it's the human resource that activates everything. Is the human resource that enables production and output to take place. Essentially, a business transforms some sort of input into an output, and it's the human component that does the transformation, that initiates the transformation. That it may be done by machines, but it's humans who monitor the machines and program the machines and ensure that there is good quality and checks throughout the system. So we have resources divided into 4 areas here, and what we'll do in the rest of this video is to look at these in slightly more detail. And we'll start with the financial resources at the top. The question is, can the business successfully finance its chosen strategy? Well, there is an issue that sometimes in terms of strategy selection, the strategy may be very elaborate and very comprehensive, but it can't be afforded. So there is an issue for businesses in terms of developing strategies that can be put into play, strategies that can be enacted because the resources are available. So it's important that the business selects courses of action that it can implement. Otherwise it's pure fantasy, it's dreaming. Implementing a strategy may require investment such as new products, production costs and capacity. It may require new machines, or it may require new premises. It may require new technologies to be introduced. So it's a question of financing these. The business may know what is required. The management of the business may be totally familiar with what is needed, but they simply can't afford it. They haven't got the resources. So it's necessary to ensure that strategies are linked to financial resources. Existing finance includes bank overdrafts, but that's very expensive. When a business goes to a bank to arrange an overdraft, it has to pay a very high rate of interest. So that is really the last resort. Getting a loan is cheaper. Companies will give loans to businesses on better rates. But again, the business will have to show that it is capable of returning, repaying the loan, getting a return off its investment, and paying the interest that the bank charges. But it also has working capital, raw materials, stock in progress. These are financial resources. Of course, it has the creditors as well. Sometimes it can place orders for raw materials and not pay for a month. Well, that means it's like getting a loan for a month. It could be like a free loan for a month. And of course, it's got shareholder capital. Shareholders put capital into the business. They're the ones who perhaps invested in the business to start with, to enable the business to take place. So there are various sources of financial resources. Raising funds, well, business's reputation within the market is important. Good relationships with lenders and investors, and market attractiveness. All of these issues need to be considered when trying to raise funds, trying to raise finance. What is the reputation of the business in the market? How is the product being received by customers, and what are the order books like at the moment? What is the direction of travel of the business? What is its long-run strategy, and how successfully is it innovating the product or innovating the design, and how well is it reading the market situation? All of these issues need to be taken into account when raising funds. The people lending to the company, perhaps the banks or even the existing shareholders, will want to know how successful is the business and how good is the management at managing the business, reading the market situation, and developing strategies that are going to yield high returns into the future. The human resources. Well, businesses' skills and abilities to meet the needs of the chosen strategy. The businesses need skills. They need people with the competencies and the skills that are needed to develop the products and to work efficiently. So human resources are critical in any consideration of the resources of the business. Human resources are critical in looking at the success of the business. It's the people who work within the business who activate the business. They are the ones who make the business run. They're the ones who make the decisions. They're the ones who do the tasks and do the tasks efficiently. They're the ones who plan and implement. So this is not done by computers or done by machines. This is done by people. So the human resource is of critical importance. And it's important that the human resource is of high quality, has got good skill levels, it's got high degrees of competency, it's got ability to perform the functions that are asked of it. Existing staffing, well, the number of staff by function, location, experience and qualification. It's important that the business has a clear audit of the type of personnel that it's got and their skills and abilities and where they are and what they're currently doing and what they could contribute to, and moving the staff around in a way to find a configuration that will optimize the business, optimize the opportunities for the business, will reduce costs, will increase sales, will improve the business. And what are the standards of training that the business put in place? It's not very realistic in a world in which products are changing so significantly and customer requirements are changing so significantly. It's not realistic to think that existing standards of competencies and skills within a workforce will be sufficient way into the future. Labour, or the human resource, like the machines almost, they need to be upgraded. and they need to be upgraded in line with the requirements of the market. So the people working in the business need to have training programs to enable them to improve on their skill levels, improve on the way in which they can contribute to the business. And the training programs should be carefully selected and carefully picked and put in place. The morale, the business culture, needs and expectations. It's important that the human resource feel good about the company. They feel a sense of pride and pleasure in working for the company because the company is successful and the company is respecting them. It's paying them a good salary or a good wage. It's got good health and safety records. The environment is clean and conducive to work. The social aspect of work is important. People need to meet and talk and not always talk about work. It's a social environment as well as a work environment. Agreed, the main emphasis is on developing the business and looking at issues surrounding the business. But the morale of the workforce is important. It reduces absenteeism if it's good. It ensures that the existing labour force will want to continue, so there's no recruitment issues or retraining issues or initial training issues. So it's important to have a good morale and a good business culture, that the workers within the business, the employees, link to what the business is doing, and the business respects them and keeps them informed about what they're thinking and what they're doing, so they feel a part of the business and they can contribute more effectively. And what are their needs and what are their expectations? Job security, a good salary, holiday entitlement, sick leave. These issues are important. The company is dealing with people, and people have needs the same as the company has needs. But there is a symbiosis. There's a growing together. The needs of the workers, when they're met, the workers should then respond by seeing to the needs of the company and helping promote the company in line with the strategies that have been selected. So it's important to look at the human resource and to identify the types of skills that are needed to effectively implement the strategy that's selected. People have many skills. They may be very good accountants, but they're also very good at swimming. But the swimming skill is not needed in business. It's the accountancy skill perhaps that's more relevant. So look at the various skills of the humans that are involved, of the human resource. Look at the various skills and pick out the key skills that are needed within the business and emphasize those and move those people into positions where they can utilize their skills, and then have training programs to further develop their skills and ensure that their morale is in place so that they're going to stay with the company and there is a return on the training programs. And there is a mutuality of benefit. The human resource benefits because they're being valued and also because their skills have been updated. But the company benefits because they've now got more efficient workers, more dedicated workers, people keen to implement chosen strategies and to see them work, and so it's a better environment all round. The physical resources. Well, physical resources are concerned with the physical ability to deliver a strategy. It's the physical ability. The physical resources could be the machines, the capital, the plant, the premises, the layout, the environment within which the work takes place. Production facilities, for example, location, capacity, materials, investment, maintenance, existing production processes. All of these are physical resources of the business, and these are necessary if the production is going to take place. Now, if it's a service that the company is producing, it may not need machinery and so on, but it will still need perhaps offices, and the offices will have equipment. This is the physical resource of the business, and it's important that the business has this in order for it to facilitate the throughput onto the market. Now, admittedly, in a world in which the internet seems to be becoming ever more dominant, for services, a lot may be produced by people working from home, and the need for premises may be reduced, and there are lots of economies to be had in terms of using the internet. But there's still physical resources, and perhaps there may be less of them, but generally speaking, companies do have some sort of resource. Marketing facilities, marketing management processes, and distribution channels. It's important that the marketing management process, it may have the need for physical resources such as cars or computer networks, or it may have to have particular distribution channels which are physical. Perhaps the company needs to have its own set of shops or its own warehouses for distribution channels. So marketing facilities may be needed. And of course IT, the rate of innovation and integration with customers and suppliers. It's not just developing websites, but the company may need its own local area network. It may need terminals and a server. It may need to be able to contact its customers online, and it may need a facility for operators to sit and contact customers and ensure that the company is getting a good presentation online, a presentation which is justifiable by the quality of the product and its position in the market. The intangible resources. Well, goodwill, and it's the value of intangible assets and the actual value of the business. So sometimes when a business is valued, you can count up the value of the machinery, the equipment, the office equipment, the premises themselves, perhaps any cars or lorries or whatever. It can count up all of the physical assets and you'll get a certain figure. But when the business is actually valued on the market, it's much higher. The difference between the higher price and the actual price for all the assets is known as goodwill. That's what the business has built up. That's the reputation of the business. Now I'm going to give some examples here of intangible resources, but really they're all linked. They're just looking at the same intangible resources from different angles. But goodwill is one that we often talk about. Goodwill is it's the reputation of the business that's enjoyed in the market, and I'll talk about reputation in a second. But it's the reputation of the business enjoyed in the market, and this is what adds extra value to the company over and above the physical value of its assets. Reputation, as I said. What are the stakeholders' views and opinions of the business? How is the business perceived in the market? Is it perceived as innovative and hardworking and offering a good product, reliable product, good quality, good customer service, good reputation in the business, in the market? Because if it is, then that will add value to the business. It may generate extra sales, but it'll also be reflected in the valuation of the business in the accounts, which is known as goodwill. Brand image is another idea linked to this. The brand image is something that's built up over a period of time. It's the reputation of the business again. It's the quality of the product. It's the image of the product. It's the desirability of the product, the brand image. And the brand image may have a certain value associated with it. So it's not just valuing the premises, the machines, the office equipment, the chairs and the machinery, and it's not just a question of valuing that and getting a figure. Companies tend to be valued higher, and the difference between the two valuations is goodwill. It could be intellectual property, which would be patents. The company's come up with a good idea and it's patented the idea, or patented, as some people say. So it patents the idea, and it can draw on the patent. It can exploit the patent, if you like, the advantages of having the patent over a number of years, because the patent protects the company against competition. And which means that the intellectual property of the business has been increased. It's an intangible resource. It can't be touched. So it's an intangible resource of the business. In this video, we've looked at the resources of the business and how they're allocated and what they are. The financial resources, the working capital, the bank deposit, the raw materials, and so on. Then we have the physical. And the physical side of what I've just said is also the raw materials, which are physical entities in the store, but also the physical premises, the machines, and so on. The people. People are an important asset of the business, and the intangible sources. So these four sources of resource are what constitute business. So businesses are made up from four resources, generally speaking. And this is what we need to know. And that's all I'm going to deal with in this session, so we're going to leave that one there and say thank you for watching.